presentations. Where am I? Next, I would like to introduce Joanna. Joanna is an experienced designer with demonstrated history in the banking sector. In addition to her freelance work, she has been working in UX and as a digital designer at Teachers Mutual Bank. And today she's going to talk about the road to accessibility, the road that she has taken with her organisation around accessibility.
Sorry, that took a little while to get on. Great. Thank you for having me. Firstly, I should probably provide a bit of a disclaimer. I'm not really an expert in accessibility, and I don't have a finished product or a big clear-cut success story. What I would like to do today is just really share my story about what we've done to get accessibility started in our organisation, and where we are at the moment and where we're hoping to get to. We've been chipping away at it, but we've still got quite a way to go. So just a little bit about our organisation. So we're one of Australia's largest mutual banks. We've got 193,000 members. These include Teachers Mutual Bank, Unibank and Firefighters Mutual Bank. Our core values are advocacy, passion and sustainability. We've been named one of the world's most ethical companies by Ethisphere for 5 years in a row. One of only 4 banks named worldwide and the only Australian company listed. We're a remote bank and we only have 8 branches, and some of these don't even handle cash. So it really means that we are in fact a digital business. Over the last few years, so since I started in 2016, the accessibility issues were pretty apparent straight away. My first attempt at communicating this, if I'm honest, wasn't very effective. I didn't really understand the complex nature of the business and or the culture really, and so I wasn't really able to sell the idea of setting an accessibility standard. We do have some really good business reasons for doing it though. The obvious ones are legal compliance and removing barriers to conversion. However, these have really been trumped by the fact that we're a niche business and we actually have quite a lot of restrictions on membership in accordance with mutual regulation. We actually can't afford to further restrict our funnel because it's already limited, especially by, say, around 20%, which is the sort of estimated number of people with disabilities in Australia. I think a lot of businesses are probably in a similar position. And one organisation, Able Gamers, it's an advocacy for gamers in the US, but they actually estimate that there's something like 33 million gamers who have a disability of some sort, which is a massive market. And so they've actually been using that to advocate for accessible games. Some of the challenges that we face as an organisation are third-party products. So we use third-party products for our core banking functionality, our online banking, and some of our key digital functionality. Some of the issues with this software is due to legacy code, but also just a lack of consideration in the design of the software. And usually by the time we see it, it's really expensive and time-consuming for us to get the issues corrected. Another problem that we have is that once I actually started talking to people about accessibility in the organisation is that there's a real sort of compliance mindset around it. And so it was really difficult for people to get past the idea that this was really just a box to tick and that it wasn't actually about people. The visual branding for our primary brand was developed in 2012, and this was done in isolation of any sort of digital consideration. So it's been really challenging as far as trying to implement it correctly from a digital perspective, and when I arrived it had been done incorrectly. So we've had a multitude of issues around low colour contrast, as well as also just an inappropriate font for online. It has a lot of readability issues. It's got really small spacing. Yeah. So I was very fortunate in a lot of the support that I had with the managers within my department. So my department is digital services, and we sit underneath sales and marketing. Once I actually started sharing the argument for accessibility and having an accessibility standard within our organisation, my managers within my department were pretty quick to pick it up and actually pushed upwards to senior management, and we were able to sort of achieve some level of senior management buy-in. And when I say that, it was very much like, yeah, that's a great idea, go ahead and implement it. However, as I mentioned, the vendor relationships are actually held at the executive level, so it was very difficult for us to also push upwards with a sort of a push upwards for accessibility requirements. As I mentioned earlier about the compliance mindset, it really did ignore the fact, people were ignoring the fact that this was about 20% of the population. And, you know, it's limiting human beings' access to products, services and content. And so this whole issue is really about people, and it's about sort of giving everyone an equal platform to operate in the world. A lot of the identified accessibility issues were also sort of basic usability issues, such as, you know, core readability when it comes to color contrast or even font size. So to combat this, we took an approach to humanise the issue. And at first we were just looking at feedback from users, and we were able to identify multiple issues around accessibility, again, ranging from low colour contrast to not supporting screen readers. We were also able to observe some members and how they were actually using particular devices to assist them. Over the last couple of years, the organisation has really started a process of digital transformation, and this really worked in our favour. So my department formalised development sprints, and we've also moved away from purely project-motivated releases. And this paved the way for us to take a more sort of iterative approach with the accessibility issues that we were able to actually action. So moving on from that, so in order to actually habitualise this change, we've sort of started setting up design-led sprints with our internet banking platform. And this is really helping us to build consultation and testing into the development workflow. And it really helps us to maintain a base level of accessibility so that we don't actually go backwards. At a higher level, our department is taking on a more sort of consultative role, and managers are working really hard to actually get in at the early phase of work being started so that we can actually have more of a say in ensuring that that accessibility level standard gets maintained. In communicating the broader positive impact, it's really important that we keep stressing that what we're doing for, you know, at an accessibility level is actually helping to continue improving usability and user experience as well down the road. We've created and also shared quite a number of tools around our organisation. So this includes just setting up things like correct ways to implement colour, so providing guides to the content creators, developers, other designers throughout the organisation. as well as just sharing existing tools that are out there, such as I really like Funkify, which is a disability simulator, and also having basic colour contrast tools such as WebAIM's colour contrast tool. Also tracking and reporting progress. So this has been really useful in actually keeping it a lot more visible, the changes that we've been working on, and just raising greater awareness around the organisation as well. Okay, so the road ahead, what we're really hoping to focus on is improving that primary visual brand for Teachers Mutual Bank. And we'll continue working with vendors to increase the accessibility so that they're actually delivering accessible products from their end. I'd really like to see an organisational policy set up around broader accessibility for our organisation as well. And also to continue working with fostering open communication channels and with our members and communities as well. So key things that I've learnt during this process is to definitely be an advocate, know your organisation, especially around communication channels. Be persistent because it is can be a long road, and humanise the issue, and also be ready for opportunities because change will happen, and when it does, it's usually more open to other change as well. Great, thank you.